There are these spiritual truths, such as there is only one. We don't care what name you call it. I call it God, but it took me a long time to get to call what I call God, God, because that name had a lot of stuff around it for me for a long time. But the energy that we call God is the energy of love. It's everything, everywhere, encompassing all things. The truth is simple, right? God is all there is. Whatever name, spirit, love, it's all there is. That's easy enough. Now applying it is a little difficult because the world is complicated. You see, we individualize this one energy that we call spirit, infinite intelligence, love. We individualize it by our use of it. It's everywhere. But we determine, we're the way God, life knows itself. So we have a purpose and a reason here. And our ultimate purpose in life, I believe, is to think and live as God, good, love, peace, harmony, joy, unity, infinite possibility is. That's where we're going. We're all headed there in a different way, at a different speed. But that's the ultimate goal. A self-actualized being. There have been many on the planet, Jesus, Buddha, many of our leaders on the wall, but self-actualized people that really own their oneness with Spirit. The Bible tells us we are immersed in God. Because we're made of God stuff. It's in us. It's the stuff we're made of. It's everywhere present. Now, what would it mean to you to be immersed in God? To me, it means to be Spirit-filled. Does that sound good? Spirit-filled. And if we think about Spirit, let's think of the qualities of Spirit. Number one, every master will tell us that God is love. That is the most healing power on this planet. It's the most powerful word we can use when it comes from the God space, that unconditional spiritual love. Love, God is love. So if we're Spirit-filled, we're filled with just what Jesse was talking about, with love. God is creative and infinite possibility. God is ever creating. Now, it's not always creating in the way you and I want. Have you noticed? It just doesn't happen quite that way because there is a process to life. Now, I'm going to tell you something. As chaotic and crazy as our world seems right now, life is intentional. There truly are no barriers to our best self, because that's what we're designed to be. There are no barriers. Do you believe me?
Yes.
Oh, come on. Sort of, maybe a bit, I believe you. But the only barriers we have to being our greatest version of ourselves is what we hold here. It's our thought. Because the other thing we know about this essence and energy we call Spirit, we call God, is it is good. There are not two powers. There's not a power for good and a power for evil. There is one power. Well, I don't look like two. There's one power. And that power is good. We get to choose how we use it. There's one power for good. This power is also infinite intelligence. And I thought this was really interesting. I looked up infinite intelligence. And it came from Napoleon Hill's. He describes infinite intelligence in his book, Think and Grow Rich, The Law to Success, which is one of the 10th best-selling books of all time. People want to be rich. Rich in spirit, number one. He says, infinite intelligence is the force that gives order and origin to everything in the entire universe. It is the prime source, the first cause of everything that comes into existence. Doesn't that sound so good? But how many of you struggle with this? Well, I'm going to tell you what I've noticed. And not just in your life, but in my life. Everybody I've been talking to recently is exhausted. How many of you could say, yes, I'm there? I have felt it. I know it. I'm living that too. We're exhausted because this world is so chaotic. Because you and I are not preparing ourselves for the good there is. It's out there, but we don't prepare ourselves. We don't get up in the morning, usually, most of us, and not listen to our phone, or look at our email, or turn on the news, or listen to something. We don't get up and just fill ourselves with Spirit. To be immersed in Spirit and Spirit-filled, we have to fill ourselves and prepare ourselves for the good. Do you get what I mean? And when we wake up and the world is coming at us, we shut down and we're not present to the good that's already there. Now, a master said this, and I'm going to share this with you. Why do we all struggle, Master? Where should I look for enlightenment? And the Master, whose ever name you put in there, the self-actualized one, the one who so claimed his oneness with Spirit, or her oneness with Spirit, or the oneness with Spirit, says, here, when will it happen? It's happening right now. Well, why don't I experience it? Because you do not look. What should I look for? Nothing. Just look. At what? Anything your eyes light upon. Must I look in a special kind of way? No, the ordinary way will do. But don't I always look in the ordinary way? No. Well, what do you mean? You don't look in the ordinary way because to look, you must be here. You're mostly somewhere else. Not fully present in the moment to accept the good that's already been given. We immerse ourselves instead of in the spiritual truth that every moment holds infinite possibilities. Everything we're doing right now has the opportunity to be something more, that there's way more going on than our physical eye can see. We immerse ourselves in our limited thoughts. I'm not good enough. There's not enough good to go around. I'm inferior to everyone else. Look, you're made of God stuff. You're unique. You're precious. Everything. Remember, everything is beautiful because it's an original creation of Spirit. And then we do one other thing that keeps us way stuck, way far away from that possibility that's pulling on us all the time to be more, to know more, to see how special, wonderful, glorious life is, and we are. The thing we do very, 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 very well is feel guilty. Right? Our little ego self wants us to feel guilty that we're not good enough, or that we made a mistake, or we did something wrong, or da-da-da-da-da. And then when we don't do that, our little self is even better at making other people guilty. It loves to do that. But you know what happens when we do that? It closes our heart. And our heart is the number one thing that needs to be opened if we're going to open to this infinite, amazing good that's ever present. Now, what would God say about this? Well, God doesn't judge, so I wouldn't do that. But God would say, look, I've given you everything you need. You're immersed with all the possibility you could imagine. It's around you and through you. I've given it to you. You must receive it in order to use it. That's where the open heart comes in. If our heart is closed, we're not accepting the good that's ever present. We're too busy blaming or judging or criticizing or whatever else we do to keep our minds preoccupied with what there isn't instead of all the good that is. All the good that is. For many, many centuries and in all cultures, a symbol for water, a symbol for the sacred has been water. Water is used as a symbol for the sacred. And that's why baptism, which is an initiation into a particular role or activity, why baptism has used either to be sprinkled with water or to be submerged in water. Now I want you to think, that's such beautiful imagery, because if you think of this pool of sacredness, let's call it sacredness, okay? And you immerse yourself in this sacredness. When you come out, you're dripping with sacredness. Do you get the picture? You got the drops of sacredness all over you, and you're dripping with it, and you're dancing. But you know what? You start to dry out. And if you don't keep yourself immersed in that stuff we call spirit, love, creativity, possibility, infinite intelligence, you dry out. How are you doing? How many of you are semi-dry? How many of you are dried out right now? I mean, I know life is tough if we don't take the time to feed ourselves and immerse ourselves in those truths that can set us free. We have to really start claiming our good right now. So I'm going to give you, now this is going to be something, I mean this. This isn't just something to listen to and forget about it. I want you to hear this. This is a practice I want you to practice today, tomorrow, the next day. I want you to see how you do on it and get a partner to remind you, to ask you if you're really doing this. Remember in the beginning I said the truth is simple? The infinite, eternal truths, the law of life, the laws, those are simple. They're easy. Applying them is hard. I want you to start with the truth and move backwards. So if you come into a situation and go, I don't know what to do, is that the truth? No, you're filled with infinite possibility. Every problem holds a solution. You start with the truth. Do you get it? I mean it. You start with the truth and work backwards. You guys are all stunned. I mean this, because I'll tell you, it's life-changing. When you can start with the truth and practice, you might need sticky notes all over to remember, but go pick some simple truths and put them places that you remember. Oh no, with Spirit, with God, all things are possible. I can make all things new. I can submerge. You know what? If we dry out, the good news is we can get wet real fast if we jump in head first. If we jump into that book, that prayer, nature, wherever it is you find Spirit, if you jump into it, you can get soaked again really quickly if you're willing to. Willingness is what makes the biggest difference. Willing to. I'm going to ask you, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to put God first, put love first, put joy first, put possibility first? We all are fundamentally the same, and I think if we boiled it all down, we'd all want the same thing. We'd all want to be healthy, happy, and loved. Would you agree with me? You can be healthy even if your body temple is not cured. You can be happy even if all the situations in your life aren't the way you want them. And you can be loved even if you don't have that perfect partner to love you, because love is everywhere present. So our call to action today is to think as God thinks first. Put love first. Because if we're going to sprinkle our life with the sacredness that comes off of us, we're going to sprinkle it with understanding. We're not going to look at people and have that judgment or that guilt. I'm going to share this last little reading from the Master before we get our prayer wall up here. So be thinking of what you're willing to do to put the truth first. What you're willing to let go of, what you're willing to claim, so you can put the truth first. The Master is asked, how shall I get the grace of never judging my neighbor? Should I read that one again? Okay, I will. How shall I get the grace of never judging my neighbor? Through prayer. I pray, then why haven't I found it yet? Because you haven't prayed in the right place. Where's that? In the heart of God. How do I get there? You get there by understanding that anyone who sins, and we know sin simply means missing the mark or making a mistake. Anyone who sins does not know what they are doing, and they deserve to be forgiven. Sprinkle forgiveness everywhere, because life is sprinkling you with all the love, all the possibility, all the forgiveness, all the joy that it has, which is infinite and eternal. And just hold with me as our beautiful practitioners of prayer are closing up their prayers, that we hold this truth that life is eternally good, that God is all there is, that we are one with this infinite, joyous spirit of infinite possibility, joy, love, creativity, harmony, and goodness right here and right now. And we are allowed to feel the pull of spirit, the pull of love to move us into a greater expression of who we are, to see the possibility surrounding and holding the problem, the love healing the hurt, all the good that can happen happening here in this moment. We know that pull of spirit that we call love is a life-giving elixir that allows us to be more fully expressed, fully actualized, more connected with ourselves and one another. It is together that we make this world a world that works for everyone through the consciousness, the caring, and the knowing of love. Whatever prayer you had this morning, it is together we release it to the infinite mind of God, the law of good that only knows to answer the prayer as it has been given. And we sprinkle our lives and one another with the gratitude of knowing this truth. And it is together we say, and so it is. You know that I love you all. I bless you, and I hold you in the highest, most sacred place of the ever-unfolding process of good, of love, and light. Thank you for being here as we are the community of InSpirit, and I know we live that way. God bless you, and thank you.